So welcome everybody to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Wednesday, December the 22nd, 2021, and our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. So we'll give Michael just a moment to get dialed in, and I'll just direct everybody to the website again, whyagain.org. And Susan got me straightened out on the homepage. So when you type in whyagain.org, it'll actually take you to the homepage. I promised her I would not do anything else on the website until all of the fog had lifted. So I invite you to just go there and look around. There's lots of downloads, audios, videos. There's information about the Coptic Conference that's coming up in January. There's also a book study group that is going to start in March, studying the Why Is This Happening to Me Again. And I believe that book study group is based out of England, but they said they have global attendees in it. And so we're excited about that taking place, another way of spreading the information and getting it out to more and more people. And then we have of course, the monthly membership, the breathing membership, and the codependence to interdependence, which is a self-study. And all that information is on the website. You can find that. And just invite you to download the app and update it if you haven't already, and look at all of the changes that have taken place with the app. We now have not just the 2 forgiveness worksheets and the commitments, but you can also access the Dragon Klingon game and the events, the schedule of events. There's a More button, which will take you to the website, and there's lots of information there. And there's also a button on the radio show. So all of those things can be accessed from the app and on any page within the app. It doesn't matter what you're on. You can click a button and ask a question, and it will send a question to me, and then we will address that on the radio show, and we will respond back with an email letting you know what date and time of the show that we addressed that particular question. And so we're excited about that. That is definitely an upgrade. People, you're working on a worksheet and going right through it, and you come up with a question. You can ask it right there and then keep going with your worksheet. So that is, I think, going to be a big plus for everybody. And, yes, we are feeling human again. Woke up this morning and it was like there's still a few twinges here and there, but I'm actually ready if they call and say, come get your dad. I think that we can handle it now. And so just hold the space that they're doing respiratory therapy and physical therapy with him, and then they're going to send him home with oxygen. And then we've got plenty of help coming. I don't know when they'll start, but they'll have a nurse. They have respiratory therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy. There'll be at least 4 people a week coming in and working with him. So I'm excited about having that assistance. So thank you all for your continued prayers. And yes, we are feeling much better. Welcome, Michael.
Did you share that this morning when we woke up, we said, oh, it feels so good to feel good when you wake up?
No.
Well, that was expressions this morning for sure. And if you want to watch a really profound, we've been spending the morning on looking at what's our next step. What are we moving in the world now? And get your pen handy or your notepad handy and write down Eva, E-V-A, space, K-O-R, semicolon, or colon. Eva Kor, semicolon. Surviving the Angel of Death. It is a 58-minute presentation. We're at about 50 minutes, and she's totally and completely engaged in talking about the forgiveness process at this point and how powerful it was for her. After she recounts how at 10 She and her twin sister were ripped away from her father and mother who were killed in Auschwitz, and how they were part of experiments that were just beyond comprehensible that any human being could participate. And how at 10 she put in her mind that she was going to survive this no matter what, and she did. Very powerful. And when you look at the racist mindset that allows that sort of thing to have ever happened on Earth, and sadly it has happened many, many times. And if you take a look at the racist mindset moving in the world today, coming to America soon, if we don't wake up and take action. It's time for us to recognize that hate, prejudice, fear in all of its forms are anomalies to the human spirit and create distortions beyond comprehension. Fortunately, if someone gets lost in those energetic patterns, fortunately, the purity of being is still there, waiting to crack through, no matter what. And this work is about holding the space and providing the tools for people to crack through those kinds of insanities. In any event, very powerful video to watch, and I think a very good reason why each and every person who is concerned about decency in our world needs to stand up beyond the boundaries of their own lives, beyond the boundaries of their own thoughts, beyond the boundaries of their own households, and take actual concrete action toward creating decency in the world. And each person has a different task. Each person has a different skill set. Some of it might be to get in somebody's face and confront them over their hate. Someone else might be nothing more than a silent holding of the space and petition for healing. Whatever your role is, I invite you to be recommitted, to recommit on a new level. Because the coming features, if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, the coming features in America and in the world are a repeat of what happened in Nazi Germany just a few short decades ago. It's time for people of integrity and decency to step up and take action. That action might look like holding someone accountable, whatever that entails, and it might be horrific in its appearance. But whatever your part is to play, it might be nothing more than I'm going to do my own work on healing my hostility, my fear, my hatred, my vengeance. One of the stories, this young girl, this older woman, she's now in her 80s, she's actually passed now, but one of the stories she tells about how she and her twin sister, there were super highly secretive experiments done with twins, and they injected her with something that made her deathly ill and sent her off to die. She determined she was going to live. And she shares how it was several decades later, the first time that she and her sister shared what happened, and that apparently Mengele would do his experiments to kill one of the twins, keep the other one alive, and measure their physiological responses at the moment of their twin's death. And then he would immediately kill the second twin and do an autopsy on both of them to find out how the death of the first one impacted the death of the second one. And that was part of her forgiveness work, was to clean that out of her life and out of her body and out of her mind. And she has lectured all over the world about living a life of a human being. So I like to honor and pay tribute to Eva Kor, just a most amazing human being. And invite you to if you sit to watch that, you may have to breathe. Many tears came up for me when you hear of the inhumanity that has been done. And then you take a look around, and if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, all of the things that led up to that are happening today in our world. People are avoiding it. People are appeasing it. People are pretending we don't talk about it. We need to talk about it. One of the things Gandhi said, and Gandhi was pretty much single-handedly responsible for getting one of the most abusive empires that ever existed on the planet out of India, and that was Britain. And he said, we must expose the evil. We must. Now, somebody might interpret this work as this is all about love and light and happy. No, it's not. This is about dealing with truth. This is about speaking up in the face of insanity. This is about becoming the space, but at the same time having the courage to step up and confront and address what needs to be addressed so that we can change the dynamic, the direction it's heading. If there had been people in Nazi Germany just a few short decades ago who had seen that, who understood what was happening the way we understand it today and had taken action, it never would have happened, and it never needs to happen again. But it doesn't happen without dedicated, committed people who are willing to step up in the face of insanity and say, no more. And I'm going to turn to why is this happening to me again and what you can do about it. And, what I've just said is exactly about the book. I mean, I might as well be from the book. If we never learn to deal with what's gone before us, then the replicate mind will repeat it. When you learn how to go into your own unconscious and remove that which is of an offensive nature, then you don't have to unconsciously produce the why is this happening to me again experience. If we don't confront the rage, the insanity, basically, if you take a look, the brown shirts of Nazi Germany are alive and well and functioning in full force in America. We need to be able to confront it. We need to be able to do our work around it and inspire the work in the world that's going to change that game. So we're here to hold the space for that. And we're on step 9B. Top of page 173 if you're following along in the book. And we're talking with Richard about the fact that there is this power in us that can assist us, that goes beyond our intellectual understanding and will move in us those things that don't belong. And so at the point where I'm talking with Richard about this, and I offer the thought, in the Aramaic scriptures, the mind was called the great deceiver, who could take any situation and justly pronounce its old realities, and justify projecting its old realities, patterns, and habitual behaviors into whatever happens. The task at hand is to bring love into your mind and heal your tendency to abuse yourself or anyone else, whatever comes up. Now, let's all be fully aware. There are a million reasons to be vicious and vile and destructive toward many people. And, I've had people over and over and over again over the decades who, but Michael, they deserve my rage. And I say, boy, I watched what they did. They sure do deserve your rage. Question is, do you deserve it? Because remember step 7 in the worksheet? I get the original of what I send out. They get the carbon copy. And they may not be home for delivery. But Michael, I'm so enraged. Great. So now what you're telling me is you have deep forgiveness of rage to do. But I'm so sad and aggrieved. Right. So now you've told me you have sadness and grief that you need to work through. Then it's time to take up your cross. Remember, Yeshua 2,000 years ago didn't say take up my cross. He said take up your cross. What is it in your life experience, in your genetic history, in your environmental growing up? What is it that you hold in you that when it's resonated you lose the capacity to function out of a mind connected to love? That's your work at this minute. And we are here to support each and every person on the planet doing that piece of work, whatever it is. And it's unique to each and every one of us. Yes, oh man, when you did that, I wanted to reach in and puke so hard on you, so now what am I going to do to heal my puking? But they don't deserve love. You know something? I saw what they did. You're right, they don't. But do you? And if you bring love conscious, active, and present, and bring it into your behavior, your extension of that energy will be the gift that perhaps opens the space for that individual to realize, to make real who they are. And one more ancient hatred will become appearance of love. The ego mind will always prompt vengeance. The ego mind, based in hostility or fear, will never prompt you toward healing. And so it becomes imperative to never, ever again do what it is that you are prompted to do by your mind. Do what it is you want to do, unless it is to bring forward the truth about who you are as active, present love, to function out of that space. So the task at hand, once again, is to bring love into your mind and heal your tendency to abuse yourself or anyone else, whatever comes up. Do you see how the mind sets a trap? It is urgent in any healing circumstance to have a law by which you act, a guidepost for decisions and behavior, or you will tend to fall into the trap of the mind. See, to do what you feel like doing means you're going to get to live in that trap forever. You make a choice as to how you are going to behave in given circumstances that you may find yourself experiencing, and then you do what you've chosen to do rather than what your mind prompts you to do. The law is called the law of love. You can't listen to the advice of an insane mind and make healing decisions. Richard was dismayed. I'm insane right now. I'm just angry at myself, he shot back at me. Recall the definition of insanity we discussed earlier. An insane mind is a mind without the condition of love. The first law is to keep that condition in your mind. Whomever you think about, whatever happens. Your focus is on you right now, and you are ready to punish yourself for the error of a child who was in pain. You didn't understand what happened when a new baby came into your home. How could you? I would suggest you go back to step 8 and reconnect your mind to love before you take any other actions. Okay, I really want to get through this. It seems like such a waste the way I've been with my sister for so many years. Great catch. Notice your words. Sounds like another good topic for worksheet. Wasted relationships. It would be a good idea to make a note on that for future worksheets. Have quote-unquote wasted relationships shown up anywhere else in your life? Let me take a minute and get centered in that love connection, Michael. We sat silently for a moment, and Richard's countenance changed. He seemed to settle a little and then spoke. It feels as though every relationship I've ever had was a waste And I can see that I made the decision very early that relationships aren't safe. The truth is, I think, that I wasn't safe. I've been so angry ever since I was a child. I'd snap at anybody for what appeared to be no reason. I now clearly see that I was hurting and wasn't going to let anyone get close enough to do it to me again. I can now see that all of my adult trauma and pain has come about as a result of my unwillingness to honestly look at my life, my own blockage of truth. I got it. My life drama is to be emotionally aloof and unavailable, just as described in the Celestine prophecy. It is clear that my attitude guaranteed I would be hurt over and over. The old saying, "There are none so blind as those who will not see," keeps coming to my mind. I've sabotaged my whole life. And sadly, Richard has just described the lot of most everybody on the planet. And there are tools with which to change that whole dynamic. That's what we're here to support him. And we're delighted that you're here to be part of the conversation. And Miss Jeanie, do we have anybody out there in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
We do have a hand up, and I believe it is
awesome.
Lisa, area code 406. You're on the air. Hi.
Hey there, young lady. Welcome.
So, the most exciting life.
Yes. I hear you. Would you like to share a little bit about what it is we're going to talk about? And Lisa had sent me a text a little bit earlier. And so, you want to just kind of lay out what's happening, Lisa?
Yeah. So my former husband sent me a text, and this is the same former husband that sought to get full custody of my children. He did, and I know, but
be careful. One, what you ask for, because you're going to get it, and two, and I posted on one of your Facebook posts this morning, be careful what you don't ask for, because you're not going to get it.
Right. So,
so it sounds like with the bleep words, hostility was one of the first things that came up.
Yeah, it was. That was the first thing that fired, but almost immediately, my study of my Aramaic forgiveness kicked in.
Sweet.
Yeah, but I am conflicted, So my initial, I had started calling Kaylee yesterday to try to, wish him a Merry Christmas season, because he doesn't answer texts or anything that I send. So, but then today I did call again. He didn't pick up. So I did send a text, telling him that he's, welcome here anytime, and that he is, sounds like there's a lot of drama going on in his house, and he might need a safe space. So, but I am, but the part about Marvin that I feel myself doing is I am not able. He's asking for support, or else he wouldn't be texting me, and I am
notice that.
not, and I'm not able to extend. At this second, I am still withholding my support and my being a space of love. I'm withholding the love.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like the first order business might be, and it sounds like you're already moving in that direction, of restoring that presence of love for your son. So when you tap into and think about your son and he doesn't return your messages and such, what surfaces for you?
Well, for him, I'm actually fine with that. I was actually referring to Marvin, not being able to support him. But
right.
But for Kaylee, I don't have, I don't have much knowing of them anymore. So I don't really know, what. I mean, I'm in contact with them in my sleep, or at least I feel like I am. I don't know.
Right.
But I haven't seen them since they were 6 and 7.
Right. So breathing with you around that and supporting you and recognizing that, it's going to be what you do that important here with him and with your former, but primarily with your son. And I would suspect that there might be some difficulty just because of the whole cloud of energy that you hold from relationship with Marvin, and that's going to somewhat tinge the energies and the clarity that you can send to your son.
Yes.
So I would support you in being able to do some worksheets, some forgiveness around this power person dynamic of withholding support. Notice that what Marvin did with you as a power person, he had the power in this situation, and certainly I can remember times when it was survival for you. So it's become a power person dynamic. So notice the thing that feels most natural for you to do is what he did to you that you hated the most, and that was to withhold support.
Right. And he's threatening to do that to my son.
Right. Yeah, that's his game. That's his dynamic. So can you cancel in your mind all of the goals that you hold that would have you doing the same thing to him?
Yes.
And as you do that, knowing that, and I can only imagine, I've had some interaction with your former, so I have some sense of where he lives in terms of his energetic space. And so the interaction with your sons is still in his ballpark primarily. And anything you can do to reach out and offer support to him and getting him back to a space of connected, active love is going to benefit both of your children.
Yes.
And so with wholehearted support, could you send back a text saying, how can I support this healing? Good breath.
I know that it's the right thing to do, and I will do it.
Knowing it's the right thing to do and having the energy to do it are two different things. I can only imagine it's going to be a monumental piece of work for you to shine up the parts of your mind that have been tarnished around your relationship with Marvin, so that you can really, with clarity, send that energy truly. So I, for one, am here to hold the space for that cleansing for you to happen, because in whatever way it's appropriate, you offering that support, even if it's just a conversation that helps to settle him down in relationship to your son, your son's going to be the beneficiary of it. And my experience of people with COVID is that some of the basest energetic patterns they have are going to be moving. And so it wouldn't be a surprise if you reach forward with support to see a swipe come back at you. And are you prepared to breathe and to handle that and move through what comes up?
Well, I won't do it until I'm prepared for whatever the repercussions are, perceiving positive or perceiving negative, because I tend to be emotional about this about this situation.
Yeah.
Well,
and to me, the fact, Lisa, that you can have a little laugh in your voice as you talk about that is a signal of the monumental amount of work you've done. And obviously it's not finished yet.
No. And I know that this is supposed to be, obviously you have one, it's handed down that you have one, path in life that you're supposed to do, and this might be it, and blah, 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 all that stuff. So I know that this is a monumental task for me, whether it's it or whether it's just a milestone. But it's the sooner that I've been withholding the dismantling of my rage and hatred and everything that I'm projecting onto him for this entire 11 years, even after a year at Heartland. I've still been nursing that righteous.
I understand. Yep, I hear you.
And I know that I have to let it go so that I can move forward and become.
So are you going to?
I don't even know. Free.
Are you going to?
Oh. I must. Yes.
Yeah, you must. And
I
recognize
must.
And be gentle with yourself. There's a mountain of trauma there. There's a mountain of trauma that was energy that was inflicted in the whole process of both of you arriving where you're at in the world today. There's a mountain of trauma that you've put on yourself with that. And this is challenge time. Major work to be done. And maybe it's time to be willing to free yourself of all of that.
I'm ready to be free of it from my mind-body unit. I'm ready to because I've been doing so much yoga, and that was actually a beautiful blessing. The text came as I was driving to Bikram, and so I had a trigger response, but I was 5 minutes away from the studio.
You're going
so
right into hot yoga. Well, what a gift!
Right, I got to the studio. I laid my mat down, and I didn't practice very well because I couldn't keep my thoughts. I couldn't stay fully present. But that that moving that energy, helping to move that energy through the body, and then driving home and still not responding, and then reaching out to you for support, and then. So I've been doing my best to get back to a space, to hold that love fully present, which is still a challenge.
Well, I can only imagine.
That I can do that well.
Right. And I can only imagine, Lisa, that one of the things that's very likely to happen, however you respond, is that, if the pattern continues, you're going to get whacked again. And so probably one of the first worksheets to do is going to be canceling your need for Marvin to treat you with decency.
Yes.
And to make a space for what is likely to be his reaction to come, and that you're able to feel that energy and rather than react to it, act as conscious, active, present love in response to it. If a higher, piece of feedback comes, wonderful, but the number of times that he has lashed out at you, I would suspect that that would be the first worksheet. And then following that, or hand in hand with that, I suspect, and I might be in error here, that there might be some worksheets on resentment toward your son for him not responding to you when he could.
Yes.
Does that fit?
Both of them. Right, because so my fantasy that I had in my mind, I've never been more than 15 miles from them, living, and they had cars, they had money, they had cell phones, and they had my number, and they didn't reach out. So then when I reached out to them, and it was condoned by Marvin, he said I could come to the graduation, the high school graduation, even though Kaylee wasn't 18 yet. He said I could come, so I went, and they came over to my house even, and then every time I said, well, let's get together, I'll bring you some cookies. I thought teenage boys, food, I'll bring you healthy cookies, and we can have lunch. And I only want, we can only have to see each other for a moment. I would send these texts, and all the time coming back with polite responses. Oh, I'm just too busy. Oh, I'm just too this. Oh, I'm just too that. And so and I have been doing a lot of work around, because I was holding the goal for them that once they were free, quote unquote, that of course they would want to see me. Why wouldn't they want to see me? Well, guess what? They don't want to see
me.
How
deep? So Lisa, how deep over the last 11 years, and I say this from direct experience of Marvin's state of mind, how deep do you suppose the brainwash has been against you with these two kids?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are you breathing?
I can't even guess. But I will tell you that the one thing that after 11 years, I've kind of worked through some of it where I'm not as emotional. But I had seen all their books. We used to lay and read their books. So when he moved them from Hawaii to Ohio, I sent all their toys and all their books and beautiful books that had even been Alana's books. And this triggers me. But he threw them away. And and those are...
Breathe. Let yourself be with that feeling for a minute. Sounds like there's a huge chunk of grief there to move.
Yeah, it's really, and then of course the fair comes in. It's not fair that he would do that. He took my children and he gave them to a woman who was an alcoholic, and then she dies, and then he's been raising them by himself.
So guess who gets called on in the most ridiculous of circumstance to keep coming forward as active present love? Is that fair? Not in a million years. But it doesn't have anything to do with fair. It's got to do with the healing of your children and the healing of yourself.
And I can feel bone pain in my chest bones.
Yeah, you better get that energy out of there. Better get that forgiven. You don't need that disorder happening. That's your work. So it sounds like life is calling on you on a whole other level to step up to the plate with integrity and as the presence of love. And I got that you see the monumental amount of work that you have to do, and I got your willingness, and I want you to know we're here to support you. Breathing with you.
I just wanted, thank you. I wanted to write, even though I can say those words to other people and I can hear them, I wanted to make sure and write them down because my unconscious, like most people's, blocks out things. So I've been writing all this down so that after I hang up, and then my unconscious tries to wipe this conversation from my mind. I know what the key points are.
Well, and the other thing I would suggest you might do is, once you've done some worksheets and cleared some of this energy, is make the space for yourself to do a still point session and play this in the background as you're breathing. Replay this show as you breathe. Once you get into your still point session, turn it on and just let yourself be the passive receiver of your own voice, your own energy dynamics, and these invitations to open. And if you're in that space and that breath is moving, you'll just move things on a whole other level. And I'll just offer I think back to one of the first times that you breathed at Heartland, and I have never seen anyone so willing to receive pain and not open, ever. You hold the record, Lisa. So, and my perception, my construct about it, it was just your determination that you're not going to let it touch you. And I'd invite you, if that's accurate, just check it out. Whether or not I'm accurate, it might be my total projection. But if it's accurate, it's time to let it go.
Yeah, I don't. I'll double check.
Okay. All right.
I'm sure you're on target.
Breathing with you, just breathing with you. I can't fathom. I got to observe firsthand. I got to hear your story. I got to hear Marvin's story, and I've gotten to observe firsthand. And you've got a huge piece of work in front of you, and you're capable of it. I know that you have that kind of determination too. The same strength with which determination you held on, you can use that same determination to open and let go and be finished with this for your eternal life. Be finished with it. But I would suggest starting with those worksheets around Marvin and what will likely come back from him, and you're canceling your need for him to treat you lovingly, gently, respectfully, fairly, to treat the children that way. And then to clean up some of the resentment about, well, but wait a minute, why, when they had the chance, why didn't they? Each and every one of those goals is to clear out. And, you're going to have to hand them, whether they appear to deserve it or not, the benefit of the doubt. I mean, they were daily programmed by a rageaholic. It's pretty tough for a kid to go through.
I just, yeah, I couldn't deal with it. That's why I had to go.
Yeah. I hear you.
But you know what though? I always say this though, Michael. If I had to do it over again, I would have stayed.
Yeah.
If I'd known that I would never, that I wouldn't see my children again for 11 years, I'd have sucked it up, and like my mom did, she stayed for 25 years of horrendous abuse. And if I'd have known that I wasn't going to be able to see my children, I'd have stayed.
So now you can acknowledge yourself for having broken the family curse. Now comes the healing. And probably a lot of what's going to come up for healing is going to be the trauma that you received, which is replicated in this relationship and, you know, as you grew into adulthood, but the abuse that you were a part of, receiving and observing and absorbing as those decades of abuse went on in your childhood. I don't know. Have you ever been on a show where you've heard me talk about the writing of a man named Francis Fenelon? Have you heard me read that at all?
I don't recall.
Well, it'll take me a second to open it here in my phone, but let me just read. This goes back to the 17th century. And it's a piece of writing I came across about maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. And this is a Roman Catholic archbishop down around about 1700. And he's writing about the work, not about theology, not about religion, but you know what the real work is. And here's what he says. This is writing over 300 years old. As the light increases, we see ourselves to be worse than we thought. We are amazed at our former blindness as we see issuing forth from the depths of our heart a whole swarm of shameful feelings like filthy reptiles crawling from a hidden cave. We never could have believed that we harbored such things, and we stand aghast as we watch them gradually appear. But while our faults diminish, the light by which we see them waxes brighter, and we're filled with horror. Bear in mind for your comfort that we only perceive that malady when the cure begins. So some of what's going to open for you is going to be some of those energetic patterns that instilled those power person dynamics in you as you watched what unfolded in your family. And of course, what's in your genes, but what unfolded in the childhoods of the two people who created that in your childhood. And, you know, ultimately, all of that needs to be embraced. I did a still point session back, I don't know, maybe it's 6 or 8 months ago. And as I'm breathing and things are opening, my eyes literally point downward, inwardly. And all I can see is a massive darkness. And there were flecks of light dispersed throughout all of that darkness. And what I was told as I was doing that was that I was looking at the light of my generations, of the individuals in my generations, and the darkness that was surrounding in each and every one of them. And they were uncountable in number. I mean, it was just like an unfathomable number. And it was like the suffering that each of them was carrying. And the request was, I willing to take on and be the space for that energy to be processed from an uncountable number of my own direct relations held inside of me. And it was like unfathomable. And all I could say was, of course, yes, I will take that energy on. I will be the space for that to be processed. And Lisa, you're kind of up against that, the willingness to do that. And I think you're one of the unique individuals that's big enough to do it. Strong enough to do it, powerful enough to do it, insightful enough to do it. And it's not going to be a Dr. Feelgood process.
Well, it is time for it to be off the planet Earth. It's time for all that.
And, as the Course in Miracles says, millions yet unborn will benefit from the work you're willing to do. I'm breathing with you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I'm very concerned about the state of our nation and our planet also. Aside from what's happening in the nation. Right. And
what's happening in the nation is just a reflection of what's happening in the minds of the people in the nation. That's us.
Yes.
And who's going to clean? Like, who's got the tools? Who's got the knowledge that's even there to be cleaned up? Not very many.
And so when my internal dialogue is, people on the opposite side, why are they acting that crazy? Why don't they just reach out? Why don't they just talk? And so what's the one thing, the advice that you give to other person is it may or may not be true for them, but for a fact it's true for you.
Exactly. What if I'm the one on the other side that needs someone conscious enough to hold the space of active love? What if it's me in my unconscious that's in need of that? And it is. Breathing with you. And standing in willingness and admiration for the fact that you spent the years that you have jumping in and doing your work on the level that you have, and that you're ready to go to the next level. It's awesome.
Isn't it funny too? Ironic. I know we're almost at 2, but that it happened exactly, on the solstice. Exactly. It's
energetic pattern.
It's and so the older son, Kaimi, it was I sent him a text asking him if he was wrestling, because he had protocols before he had missed the last home meet. He said, "Yes, I am." He says, "Are you going to come see me?" And I was kind of thinking about going because it was a 3-hour drive. And I said, yes. So I drove on Monday 3 hours to see him wrestle 2 3-minute matches and drove 3 hours back. But that was only the second time in 11 years that I've seen him or had contact. And he came and talked to me for about 10 minutes in between the matches.
Absolutely worth it, right?
So it was. It absolutely was.
And I bet you were just standing there so proudly.
Pardon me?
I bet you were just standing there so proudly watching him.
Yeah, I was trying to sort of. Well, anyway, it's a long story, but I had a lot of
to not beam.
Firing.
You were trying to not beam.
Right.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, times like this were made for people who are willing, and I get your willingness. And you've got our support. You've got a whole community here holding the space for this huge generational piece of work that you're getting ready to do. It's monumental.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your assistance, and happy holidays.
You've got it. And the same to you too, young lady. We hold the space, and that your new year is the best one yet of your eternal life and blessings.
Mahalo. Aloha.
Mahalo. Aloha.
I choose to live more consciously, evolving continuously.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with Dr. Michael Ryce and myself, Jeanie Ryce, and Dr. Tim Hayes and Michelle Pichet, as we present the first century Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. We are here for 2 hours every Monday through Friday from 12 noon to 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Mind Shifters Radio. For more information on Aramaic forgiveness, please visit www.whyagain.org. That's www.whyagain.org.